Hello everyone, it's Josh Mall, the voice for Swimming Pool Science, and today I'm ascending the Center Ridge at Alyeska Ski Resort in Girdwood, Alaska. I'm here to help voice stop number 3 of the 2019 Cirque Trail Run Series, where athletes race to the top of ski resorts and then back down again all across the western United States. We'll spend a few moments taking in this incredible piece of North America, but our main focus today is understanding chlorine in the swimming pool environment. Let's get started.
Chlorine is the 20th most abundant element on planet Earth and has a concentration of roughly 200 parts per million here on this rocky place we call home. That's around 100 times the needed amount for a healthy swimming pool. Towards the end of the 1800s, when electricity became an economical commodity, chemical companies started marketing bleaching powder, a byproduct of making sodium hydroxide. When an electric current is passed through a concentrated salt water and the resulting chlorine gas is then exposed to lime, the chlorine gas binds with the calcium in the lime and synthesizes a chlorine compound in solid form. A more familiar name to us in this day and age for bleaching powder is calcium hypochlorite, or shock. In 1908, they started treating drinking water with chlorine and deaths from waterborne illnesses plummeted. Chlorine was first tested as a pool sanitizer just 2 years later at Brown University by graduate student John Wyman Miller Bunker in the 70,000-gallon Colgate Hoyt pool at a concentration of 1 part per million. The results were more than outstanding and a huge improvement over the old method of just draining and refilling when the water got gross. Since then, pools have become safer and more economical to operate, and we've never looked back. While research is still being conducted to better understand how chlorine works in neutralizing microorganisms, what's been learned so far points to chlorine damaging and destroying the cell walls of pathogens, as well as reacting with enzymes and proteins in the cells. Some unwanted pool micropests are easily destroyed in this manner, while others, like Cryptosporadium and Giardia, require high concentrations of chlorine for long periods of time to be eradicated.
Now that we know a bit more about the history and characteristics of chlorine, let's explore the pros and cons of the different types we might use in our pool or spa.
When chlorine is added to water, it mildly reacts with the water to form a few different compounds: hypochlorous acid, hydrochloric acid, and hypochlorite ions. The amounts of these compounds vary depending on the pH of the water. The higher the pH, the more hypochlorite ions form. These don't do a whole lot for keeping the water germ-free. The lower the pH, the more hypochlorous acid forms. That's the type that kills the bad stuff. There are 6 common types of chlorine used to chlorinate water today. Gas chlorine, which in the last decade and a half has really tended to fall out of favor. It's got a low pH. It's kind of dangerous, and it doesn't have much staying power, so it requires expensive chemical feeders to constantly feed it into the plumbing. You've also got cal-hypo. We talked about that earlier. That's probably the oldest form of chlorine. It's been around for a little more than 100 years. It's got a high pH. It's typically found in granular form, however now you're able to find it in tab form, as some companies are making chlorine feeders for this type of chlorine. It's not my favorite. It's highly volatile, it reacts with lots of other things, and it contains a lot of calcium, which for Arizona and our neck of the woods is not a great thing, as we have really hard water as it is. It can also cloud the water. You've also got sodium hypochlorite, also known as bleach. It's got a high pH, it's fast acting, but low staying power. There's minimal byproduct that it's left in the water, so it's great for shocking and bringing your chlorine levels up quickly. And then you have trichlor. Trichlor is most commonly found in the 3-inch or 1-inch tablet form. You can also get it in a granular chlorine form. That's sometimes called algae kill, but it's really just crushed up chlorine tablets. This is a low pH form of chlorine that contains a fair amount of cyanuric acid. In fact, for every 10 parts per million of this type of chlorine that you use, you're raising your cyanuric acid levels by about 6 parts per million. It's got great staying power, especially in tablet form, so it's great for environments that are hot, like Phoenix, Arizona, where I live, because it'll keep a balanced level of chlorine throughout the week. Next, we have dichlor. This is a more pH-neutral granular form of chlorine that tends to raise cyanuric acid levels significantly higher than trichlor does. It's almost a 1-for-1 amount. For every part per million you raise a level of chlorine, it's almost 1 part per million on the cyanuric acid. It's great for starting up pools or where pH is needing to be very balanced, like on a tile or fiberglass pool. Then we have lithium. This is probably the newest form of chlorine on the market. It tends to be really expensive. However, it doesn't affect pH. It's granular. It dissolves really quickly. and it's safe on just about all pool and hot tub surfaces.
Safety is key for handling and proper dosing. Here are some of the do's and don'ts when it comes to safely using this chemical around your backyard oasis.
Remember, when storing your chemicals, keep the lids on the buckets tight and make sure that they're stored in a dry place away from other chemicals like acids and algicides. Fumes can build up inside of buckets and chemical feeders, so take precautions when opening up buckets and make sure you have some sort of ventilation. If it's indoors, make sure you have a fan nearby so you can get control of the fumes before they get control of you. Don't ever mix different forms of chlorine or mix chlorine with acid. The results are deadly and it's not safe. Most forms of chlorine can be added directly into the swimming pool. However, in powdered form, we want to make sure that we're pouring these very low and close to the water to avoid any issues where wind could carry the powder to get on things we don't want it to be on. We also want to make sure that we're not pouring it in when someone else is in the swimming pool.
That's how you know it's working, son.
For sensitive surfaces like vinyl liner pools, you can pre-mix your chlorine in a bucket and then pour it in to dilute it so it doesn't damage or stain or ruin your vinyl. When it comes to tablets, there's only two ways these should be dispensed in a swimming pool. One is through a chlorine floater in a residential setting. In a commercial setting, you want to put those into an inline chlorine feeder. Putting them directly into the pool, putting them in the skimmer, or even in the pump basket is a big no-no, and you're just asking for repairs and damage. By now, some of you might be wondering why we haven't talked about salt chlorine generators. We're going to do a separate video on those systems. When it's posted, we'll have a link above right here. For those of you that do have salt chlorine generators, remember, the mechanics are the same once the chlorine is in the water, so this video still applies in terms of water chemistry.
In some situations, you may find that the amount of chlorine you normally put in just isn't cutting it anymore. Let's look at a few other measures of water chemistry that affect chlorine's ability to work effectively.
There's a few things we want to check out to make sure that our chlorine is going to work at its optimal level. First of all, is your pH balanced? If not, check out our video above on alkalinity and pH. It should be balanced because, like we said earlier, high pH equals hypochlorite ions, which aren't very effective for killing bacteria and germs. We want hypochlorous acid, which is more abundant at a lower pH setting. So we want to make sure we get that pH down just a little bit. Also, where are your cyanuric acid levels at? This is also known as conditioner or stabilizer. We want our chlorine to be between 7 and 10% of wherever our stabilizer is, because stabilizer acts as a sunscreen for chlorine in a pool. Without it, the chlorine will get gassed off by the UV rays from the sun. However, too much of it and it slows the chlorine down. Imagine trying to ride your bike in dry sand. So if our cyanuric acid is at about 100 parts per million, we want to make sure that that chlorine is right around 7 to 10 parts per million so it can do a really good job. It also helps to lower that cyanuric acid by draining the pool down. So if we can get our cyanuric acid into that ideal range between about 40 and 60 parts per million, then we don't have to have our chlorine very high for it to do a good job. The greater the difference between cyanuric acid and chlorine, the slower the chlorine will react. That means in some cases that the reproduction of algae can actually outpace how fast the chlorine is killing it and then grow out of control despite the fact that we have normal chlorine levels in the pool. Let's talk about phosphates. Phosphates are like a miracle grow for algae, and they can cause the algae to reproduce at a very rapid pace, faster than normal levels of chlorine can kill it. That means just like with high cyanuric acid, it can grow out of control even though our chlorine levels are right where we want them to be. It's pretty easy to get that under control with a great product like PR10000 by Arenda or Biodex phosphate remover, and I'll post links in the description to where you can purchase those. Another reason can be old water. Pool water is like oil in your car in that it does need to be changed periodically. Mineral buildup, cyanuric acid buildup, all of these things can affect how well chlorine is able to work and how easy it is for algae to set root in your swimming pool. Some algicides consume chlorine. These would be your metal-based algicides like copper or silver algicides, so we need to compensate by adding extra chlorine when we use these types of algicides. Polymer-based algicides like Pool Tech, like I like to use, tend to leverage the amount of chlorine to where we can use a little bit less. Let's talk about breakpoint chlorination or shocking. This is done to burn off chloramines or combined chlorine. That's what's left over when our chlorine has done work combining with organic matter and destroying pathogens and other things that we don't want in the pool. Sometimes these can build up, especially in indoor pools or places where there's not lots of sun. Down here in Arizona, Florida, Texas, Las Vegas, the sun tends to burn these off, so they're not really a problem. But if you are fighting combined chlorine, then this is something you want to pay attention to. So how do we properly shock a pool? We do this by adding more free chlorine, but not just more free chlorine. We've got to take into account how much pool water there is, the volume. We've got to take into account how much combined chlorine there is versus how much free chlorine is in the water. We need to add at least, by today's research, triple whatever the combined chlorine is in free chlorine. The more you add, the faster it'll burn off the chloramines. Adding anything less than 3 times the amount of combined chlorine in free chlorine, you run the risk of actually creating more combined chlorine in the pool. And this is why we call it breakpoint chlorination, because you have to get to a specific point mathematically where you go from creating more combined chlorine to actually getting over that breakpoint and burning off what's there. So it's critical to test and measure. You're not just digging yourself a deeper hole.
While there are other products on the market, nothing so far matches chlorine's ability to both kill and oxidize organic materials that are constantly entering pools at the same price point. When used properly, the right amount of chlorine makes for safe, healthy swimming environments. We hope you found this video helpful. If you have any additional tips or there's anything more you'd like to know about chlorine, post down in the comments and let us know. Thanks for watching, guys, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.